Welcome to the NBAV podcast. Welcome back to NBAV, the NBA Avenue podcast, where we've done over 90 episodes of this show, but it's going to be the second episode of this new series that we're doing, where we're going to cover one team's summer league and all the players who played in every episode and what their future is going to be, who we think has the highest potential, who we think is not going to make it, who we think has a shot to make it in the NBA. And we're going to go through all the players who've played in the summer league, and then we're also at the end going to do a ranking of overall, through all the teams that we've been through so far, who is the best. And we're going to say who are our top 5, top 10 summer leaguers heading into the 2024-2025 NBA season. So last episode we did the Boston Celtics. We highlighted a bunch of their players. They had Springer and Keita, and they had Ramsey and Killian Tilly, J.D. Davison, and they had Davison, and they had Watson. And then a couple of guys didn't do so well in Shireman and Walsh. But now we're going to focus on a team that has been a lot more buzz about, at least I would say so, in the New York Knicks. Now, why are the Knicks having more buzz than the Celtics? Because the Celtics, they're going to be bringing back the same exact team that they won the championship with. Who knows, maybe they'll make a move at some point. Porzingis will start off injured, and then he'll come back, hopefully, for them at a later point in the season. But, of course, it's going to be more exciting to have the New York Knicks, who have more prospects in the wings who could actually potentially make the team, versus the Celtics, who are just trying to run it back in hopes of winning back-to-back titles. So for the Knicks, here's what we'll do. We will start off going alphabetically like we did with the Celtics, and then at the end we'll highlight the main guys who really have a shot, the better players from the Summer League for the Knicks, and then we'll get to the overall ranking. But starting from the top, we have Damian Ball. Now, when they said his name during all these games, I was sure that they were saying Damian Ball, but his name is actually Damian Baugh, Baugh. And he was a pretty good player. Now, he was the kind of guy where the Knicks have a little bit of a different approach than the Celtics. The Knicks have older guys on the Summer League in general. Damian Ball is 23. Now, the Celtics maybe had someone who was 26. That was the oldest. The Knicks have several guys who are 25, 26 or older. The Knicks have a 28-year-old on this team. And I think that's because the Knicks are viewing this more like they want a good team and a good program, and the Celtics are more like we're trying to find talent, and the team is less important. That's kind of the vibe that I got from this New York Knicks versus the Celtics kind of way of going about it. So where the Celtics had Springer go in the first game and then he was done, the Knicks kind of kept their main guys in the entire time, except for certain players who we'll get to. But Damian Ball, he's a guy who doesn't need the ball in his hands, but he can hit the three. He's athletic, and he is just an all-around good player. He doesn't need the ball to play well. So he's a good player, but the truth is he doesn't get that much shine because the Knicks had several other players who got a lot more shine than him, and there's only so much to go around. But Damian Ball, good player. Then you have Devin Kennedy, a guy who hit a couple of threes, looked all right, but didn't really get too much playing time. You have some Kello Sealy, who got barely any playing time, really a non-factor, 26-year-old, and Devin Kennedy was the 28-year-old who we were talking about. And now we get to the more interesting player. We get to Pacome Dadier. This was the Knicks' lone first-round selection in the draft. So Dadier, he's raw, he has potential, not going to be a factor in the immediate future, but a funny comparison I was thinking of is that he's sort of similar to G.G. Jackson from the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, it's a funny comparison because you're comparing a prospect to an NBA player who is nearly the same age as him. G.G. Jackson on Memphis is one of the youngest players in the whole league. He was the youngest from his draft class, so they're basically the same age. But in the sense that they have all-around games. Dadier shoots from three. He drives inside. He moves well without the basketball. He got so many layups just in the Summer League off of all the other bigger name players who the Knicks had on the floor. He's raw. He has good size, good shooting touch. He plays all over the place. The only difference between him and Jackson is right now I would say Gigi Jackson is a better creator. He's more of a creator at this point than Pacome Dadier, of course. But Dadier, he has the he has time on his side. That's what he has. So he knows he's not going to be making it this year. He's just going to be playing his heart out in the G League, and he's going to try to bring his best. But he didn't show you any reason to be worried or concerned about him. And because he's the first-round pick, he's going to have some time. And the Knicks basically invested in a guy who was a project. They knew that. And it's fine. The Knicks have a good program, and Dadier will come along as time goes on. Then we have Alan Griffin. Got basically no playing time. He's a 24-year-old out of Syracuse. He was an undrafted player. Then you have Ariel Hokporty. He was the de facto big man for the Knicks, and that's how I would describe him. Is he's the big guy. Nothing special, nothing unbelievable, not horrible. He just existed. He was good. He was there. He was a big man on the court. Kamani Johnson, I don't know if he played at all. Rokas Jokubaitis. He's been a guy who's been in the Knicks organization for a little while. He played a few years ago in the Summer League. That's what they said on the broadcast. He's originally from Lithuania. And Jokubaitis was an intriguing player for the Knicks. He really showed you a little bit of everything. He's a lefty. He has an uncanny ability to create space, sort of similar to what Luka Doncic does, where it doesn't really seem like he does very much, but somehow whenever he needs to shoot it, he just kind of has the space there, and he's able to get the shot off. Of course, not to the level of Luka, but Dadier with that lefty release, it seems like whenever he wants to shoot, he has the pocket. He has the shooting pocket right there, and he has a nice lefty stroke. He also showed some real nifty handles. He had some cool behind-the-back dribbles. He had some nice reverse layups. Very impressive, extremely impressive offensive player. He also showed some passing. Jokubaitis, perhaps in some people's mind, the best player on the Knicks in summer leagues, to some second, to some third. But he's up there on the list of all fans and anyone who's watched NBA Summer League. They're going to say that from the Knicks. Rokas Jokubaitis is someone to be excited about. Then you have Amari Kelly, barely played. And then Tyler Kolek, the Knicks' second-round selection, who's kind of been all the rage. 23-year-old out of Marquette. And he, from Summer League, you can tell, he's one of the best passers in the NBA, period. We're talking pure passing. You can go through everyone else on the Knicks. If you're talking pure passing, even with the NBA team, he's the best passer. Go through any team. Go anywhere in the league. Go through the Boston Celtics. Nobody on the Boston Celtics is a better pure passer than Tyler Kolek. And if you go through maybe every team in the NBA, he might be the best passer. There's no Rondo in the league right now. There's no Jason Kidd. Who is the magician with the basketball? It's going to be Jokic. Jokic is going to be known to be the better passer. But from the point guard position, he's an incredible passing talent. It's really unbelievable to watch him, the craftiness. I really hope he becomes a starting point guard in this league, because how can you look at him and not think the way he passes the basketball, Steve Nash? How can you look at him and not think of the passing of Rondo or Jason Kidd or Jason Williams? Like these, I know Jason Williams not as good as those other guys I mentioned, but perhaps flashier. That's what comes to mind when you watch this guy. He's the smartest guy on the court. And then he starts shooting the ball, and he has that lefty shot, and it's really good. Offensively, I mean, I know he's small, but offensively, what a talent this Kolek is. I don't know how he was so off the radar that he slipped into the second round and somehow ended up on the New York Knicks. Really a revelation at point guard. And then what's really interesting is that at the end of these close ball games, he just has a knack for scoring that clutch bucket. Very, very impressive guy. Definitely someone who we're going to have to talk a little bit more about during this podcast. Then we have Justin Lewis, a 6'7" guy who had a pretty nice shooting touch, but again, not too much playing time. Kevin McCullough Jr., I don't know if he even hit the court. Obadiah Noel got some run all the way at the end of their last game. Alex O'Connell, don't even remember him hitting the court, 25-year-old And then we get to Dmitro Skapintsev, a guy who is 7'1". He's a center. He has phenomenal touch. Phenomenal touch. He's 26. And that's what kind of gets people a little bit like, hey, I mean, he's a 26-year-old. Is there a chance he could really make the roster? The Knicks are in desperate need of a big man because they lost Hartenstein and they haven't yet re-signed Ochoa. So Skapintsev maybe is worth the flyer of moving him up and seeing what can happen. And it's tough because, on one hand, I think the Knicks, in their system, every big man looks good. It's hard to tell because Hartenstein was not known as nearly the same player he was last year as he is now at the end of this year. He had an amazing season. But also, Precious Ochoa on the Knicks also looked better than Precious Ochoa ever did in his NBA career. And Mitchell Robinson, when he's healthy, looks amazing as well. So the question is, did the Knicks just have three really quality big men? Or is the system the Knicks are playing in and the well-rounded nature of their team, is it conducive to the big man just having the real capability to thrive? And we're going to know because if Hartenstein doesn't have as good of a year this year and Ochoa goes elsewhere and doesn't play as well, and then the Knicks bring in some other no-name guys who exceed expectations, then you're going to have to start evaluating it as, well, the Knicks just have a really good system for these big men. So do I think you could take Skapintsev and bring him up to the real NBA team, the Knicks, and would he be successful? I think he would be successful. I think he would be fine not playing humongous minutes. I think he would do what he's good at. He would try hard on defense under Tibbs. But I don't know if he's a great rebounder for his size. I don't know if he is a good defender at all. I don't think he looked like a great defender from Summer League. He has the touch. He has the shooting. He's more of a kind of guy who wants to shoot, and he has a lot of good post moves as well. He has pretty good footwork, but I couldn't really tell if he was the real deal or not from Summer League. Then you have, getting to the last two players on the team, there are some of the more interesting ones. You have Jacob Toppin, who the Knicks basically put out there in the first and second games. He missed a shot all the way at the end of the first game, a running layup attempt where the ball hit off the front rim and bounced off, and it sort of rolled off. He was going left to right. He tried to sort of throw it down / lay it in. It was kind of tough with the clock running down. And he ended up missing it. It rolled off the front rim and out. And the Knicks could have tied the game against the Charlotte Hornets. But it was a bit unfair because in the first game for the Knicks, they played against the Hornets, who had already played 3 games in a different part of the Summer League. And they were undefeated. They were 3-0, and they're going into their 4th game, and the Knicks are about to play their first game of Summer League, where they're just getting to learn themselves. And somehow the Knicks went down huge right off the bat, and it was like, okay, this is just going to be a runaway. And then no, the Knicks just came back, they clawed their way back, and they nearly won the game. And Toppin played there, and then Toppin played a drop, I think, in the second game, and that was it. The Knicks kind of were like, he's too good, he's too established. Like, he's played too much in the NBA, and he's like too experienced for Summer League. So they sat him down, but he's not quite enough for the NBA to really make a difference. And that's kind of where I feel like Jacob Toppin is right now. Then you have the final player on the Summer League roster, Dwayne Washington Jr., a guy who took 1,000,000 shots. He's a real scorer. I would liken him to sort of like an Austin Rivers. I wouldn't say he's as big of a chucker as Austin Rivers was. Austin Rivers really had that, upper body shot where he leans back as he shoots it, and he's kind of got that chucker air about him. Whereas Dwayne Washington Jr., he shoots it a little bit different, a little more classic, I would say, but he can score. He is a scorer. And yes, he's streaky. He had games that he did better than other guys. I just think the problem with Dwayne Washington is, first of all, he's getting up there. He's 24. And he's the kind of guy where it's like, well, he's going to need the ball in his hands. But how much opportunity is he going to have with the ball in his hands? Because you're not going to bring him in on a team that's any good and say Dwayne Washington just run the show. As a 24-year-old who's had 3 years since college, He went undrafted in the 2021 NBA draft, and now we're suddenly going to be like, oh, yeah, Dwayne Washington, you come to our team and you get free reign to just shoot whatever you want. Like, that's not going to happen. So it's sort of hard to imagine where he's going to fit. And that's one of the problems, or that's one of the challenges with trying to predict what's going to happen with summer leaguers is some guys might be more talented, but other guys, you can clearly see their role. And that was where I said about the Celtics. The Celtics have some more talented guys, but then they have a player like Killian Tilly who has just a very translatable skill to the NBA where he doesn't need the ball and he can stand in the corner and he's a tall guy. And when you need him to hit the three, he will. So that skill translates incredibly to the NBA. So Dwayne Washington Jr., I think he's a scorer. I think he's talented. I just don't think he's going to get that run. And I don't know if he would even be good enough. He's not as good as like a Norman Powell. If you're going to be that type of scorer, if you're going to be, a Lou Williams type of guy, a Norman Powell type of guy, if you're going to be that microwave scorer coming off the bench to be that six-man Jordan Clarkson type thing, you got to be really good at scoring. And he's pretty good. He's pretty darn good, but it would be interesting. I would love to see if he made it onto a team like the Utah Jazz, if he could just come in and flame throw off the bench. That would be cool. It would be a good role for him. So now we've gone through the entire team. The Knicks had quite a few decent players. Let's say, who are the top guys? Who are the top ones out of everybody? I think you'd have to start at the top, say Tyler Kolek. Tyler Kolek, number one overall, because he's not only a guy who is a well-rounded player, he leads the team. You can trust him. You're going to get a quality shot. And he has a skill set that just translates perfectly. Like there are plenty of teams in the league that could use a starting point guard, and he could just slide in and do that right here, right now. Then I would say the second most promising player off this Knicks Summer League team is Jokic. Super impressive offensively, and in some ways you could say maybe he's a slicker offensive player in terms of the scoring than Tyler Kolek, where Tyler Kolek is more classic. He'll either create pass and get a good shot, or he'll get the pass and he'll immediately shoot it. He'll get the catch and shoot. Jokic is a little more crafty, but they both kind of need the ball in their hands a little bit. It's just I see it that it's more likely that Tyler Kolek is going to get an opportunity for a team where he gets to play backup point guard and then eventually maybe becomes a starting point guard or maybe even more than that in this league. Whereas for Jokic, it's a little bit more confusing. Is he a point guard? Is he a two guard? It seems like he's a two guard. Is he going to be able to play really well when he doesn't have the ball in his hands that much? Possibly. He did split the ball handling duties with Tyler Kolek and at parts with Dwayne Washington. So there's a chance. There is a chance for Jokic, but of course Kolek is just a rookie. Jokic is 24, right? How old is Kolek? Kolek, they say he's only 23. So I mean, I guess, but Jokic has been in the league for a couple of years, so the question is he going to get quite as much run? He was from the 2021 second round, whereas Tyler Kolek is from the 2024 second round, so he's had a couple of years here. I would just say Kolek has a better shot, a better chance at getting some real run in the NBA. Then you go to Jacob Toppin, I guess, at 3. He's not really a summer leaguer, so I don't know if you could really put him on this list or not. He sort of probably shouldn't have played in summer league. They barely played him. He was okay. He wasn't even that great. But I guess for the team, for seeing who they have, they wanted to go elsewhere. Then I would put Dwayne Washington Jr. as the 4th. I would put Damian Ball as the 5th. I actually really like him. I think he could be good because he could play 3-and-D in the NBA, and that's a very translatable skill set. Then I would put Dadier after that. After him, I would put Scap and Sev at 7. And then Huck Porty, the big man, nothing really special, but hey, he could be on the court. And then you would go Devin Kennedy, Sealy, Justin Lewis, Obadiah Noel, the older guys. But they're not going to really, in a serious way, be on this list because the Knicks were nice. They let the older guys play. They let guys who probably nobody really needed to see them play, but for themselves, the Knicks being a good organization, they allowed these guys who were being good teammates to see the court in the end of the fourth game, in the end of their fifth game, their final game. The Knicks gave a shot and they said, hey, you guys have been good teammates. Get out there, play your hearts out. And even though the game was sort of close, it was not that the wins and losses really matter, but you would think, hey, you put in your real guys at the end of the game and the end of the fourth quarter. No, the Knicks allowed these guys to finish out the game, and they seriously gave them some real time on probably the biggest stage that they will ever see. So we've gone through the Knicks. And in the previous episode, we went through the Celtics. Now, who would I say has a better G League program, the Knicks or the Celtics? Honestly, I think it's pretty close. I really do think it's pretty close. I think the Knicks have some older guys more than the Celtics. I think the Celtics, maybe team-wise, not quite as good, but they have just as much talent, I would say. If I had to rank it, they're pretty even. Honestly, the Celtics and Knicks G League squad's pretty even, I would say. And if I had to rank, let's say who's the best player of both of these teams, I would say Tyler Kolek would be number one to me. Because maybe Jaden Springer is more talented in the sense that he can get up near the rim. He can score more for himself, create more for himself. I think it's a very big ask for a team to say, hey, Springer, you're going to get the shot at playing point guard or backup point guard for our team in a serious way, whereas I could see a team trusting Tyler Kolek with that. I think as a point guard who contributes to winning in the NBA, Kolek has a better recipe for that. So I would say Kolek 1. I would say Springer 2. I would go, out of these two teams, I would say Kata 3. The big man, he's got enough that he's going to be on an NBA team, I believe. He's going to be playing NBA minutes. And I think he will for the Celtics this year. They're missing guys. He looks pretty good. Does he look like the best? No, but he looks pretty good. And then I would put Jokibitis 4th, because Jokibitis, I think, is talented. I don't know if he's going to get the opportunity. And ultimately, yeah, he looks talented in the G League, whereas I think Kata has more of a skill set that he's shown where he's going to look good, or he's going to look fine in the NBA as well. Jokibitis, I can't say for sure when he hits the NBA that he's going to look really good. I think if Kolek gets some run, I think Kolek will do well playing on a bench unit. I think Springer can potentially play all right playing on a bench unit to start. And maybe he can do better than that. Kata, I could see that as well. Jokibitis, a little bit more of a question mark. I would put him at 4. And I'm not going to do any more ranking anybody else after that, because each episode we're going to go through another team and we're going to be adding more players to this list. And we're probably going to cap it out at 10 or 5. So we have 2 from each team right now. I'm going to go right now Kolek, and then Springer and Kata from the Celtics, and then Jokibitis at 4. And then, of course, in a couple of episodes, a bunch of these players are going to be bounced off. But that's it for now. The Knicks have some stuff to look forward to. Even the Celtics have some stuff to look forward to in the pipeline. As always, we're your source for a great time every time. And until next time, we are out.